Let me turn up my Avicii. Okay, so there goes my train. It took me about 15 minutes to get over here to Asok. And now I'm going to head down to Benjakitti Park. Sorry, Cup. Coolest security ever, ladies and gentlemen, are the folks from BTS. You saw my announcement that I made in the community tab on the channel yesterday. I thanked a bunch of guys that made contributions to, and just so you know, okay, hold on. So to get to Benjakitti Park, basically you get off Asok, and then you head to exit 4. Exit 4 will be a set of stairs that takes you down to the next soy. And then from there you take a right. So let me go. So that's Terminal 21 over there. And that alleyway there, that's where you would go to MRT. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply walk down here, which is exit 4, and go all the way down to that soy down there. Take a right. And then we're I don't know, probably about a 10-minute walk to, Benjakitti. And in fact, when I get down to the bottom, what I'm going to do, I'll make sure I zoom in on the street name, the soy. But even if you've only been in Bangkok for like 2 or 3 days, there's a high likelihood that you've heard Terminal 21. And this is a incredibly iconic intersection with a giant Citibank building over on the same side as Terminal 21. So anyway, let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, so you want that at the corner of Sukhumvit, and then you cruise down. Come on, cruise down here. And it's a pretty easy walk. The other sort of thing that you're looking for are these very iconic, relatively expensive condo buildings with like those helipads on the top. There's more than 2. The other one's behind there. And I think a 1-bedroom. Now again, it's probably like a 60 square meter 1-bedroom. But a buddy of mine lived there. I think he was paying 50,000 baht a month. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, right? I mean, as far as like a global, I mean, if you're over here in Bangkok and you're going to live in one of those, there's a high likelihood that you're going to have a car and or a driver, and you are going to be making somewhere, you're going to be making U.S. wages, meaning $100, $200, $1,000 kind of thing. And I know plenty of people that don't make anywhere near that in San Diego, and their rent is about 60,000 baht a month for a 1-bedroom condo in a high-rise building in downtown San Diego. So anyway, this place has been under construction for a long time, and as you might guess, close to the end of the month. Now I have a feeling they probably put that sign up in potentially March, maybe even April. And well, at least it's always accurate. At least until they take it down. This is temporarily closed, this entrance. Now the reason at the Park Plaza. So this place is closed. This place is closed. So that entire hotel, Park Plaza, is totally closed, 100% empty. And so that kind of gives you an idea of the scale of the closures. That's a very, very nice hotel. To the point where people will live there for months at a time. And every time Gracie and I have walked down this road, it has been busy. And especially at 9 a.m. on a weekday. But as you can see, it's not. Now, if you're a bus person, it's quite easy to the buses here are great, by the way. So it's pretty easy to take those. If you wanna, there's your bus route. And you can pause at any point during here to see where the stops are if you want to take these buses. I'm personally a pretty big fan of the public transportation system here, and by that I mean BTS and MRT and the Purple Line and the buses. Because while you might think that like all of the buses here are those ones you may see in the movies that are completely run down and there's diesel fumes spewing out the back and everyone inside looks like they're gonna die kind of thing. Yeah, there's some of those for sure, but I can tell you that on a regular basis they're replacing those buses a lot of times with ones that are still 20 and 30 years old, but they have air conditioning. And they're more expensive. Usually my air-conditioned buses I've been on have been anywhere from 10 to 20 baht. And a bus that doesn't have air conditioning, sometimes even the same route will have an air-conditioned bus and a non-air-conditioned bus. And it's about half price. So, it's stale, right? Like, I mean, I'm not taking the bus twice a day, every day for the entire year. I can understand why you would do the math and say, okay, this isn't worth it because I can save 100 baht a month if I just sweat. So coming up here on the right is arguably my second most favorite park. Now, what I don't know is how I'm going to get in. Oh, you know what? So, this park is going to be totally closed. The last time Gracie and I were here, they were doing some construction. Well, as I had said before, they're taking advantage of these times where there's a lot less people. And they're doing a ton of construction. I don't have a great lens on this thing or whatever, but the point is that I can see in the distance there are those plastic tape lines. The water level in there is down significantly, and so Benjakitti Park is totally closed. But the cool thing is they're doing a lot of upgrades, so that's going to make it look great. Yeah, so normally the water level in there is probably about a meter, probably 2 meters higher than it normally is right now. And anyway, so remember I told you about the real expensive helipad buildings? So there's like the whole series of them back there. And they are absolutely very, very, very Thai expensive. But you are in the financial district, basically, of Bangkok. And what some people you'll hear them refer to it, and I know I have as well, as downtown Bangkok. But if you've ever been here, or if you come here, I would submit to you that there's no downtown. Bangkok is massive, and there are so see, normally, right, you can go here like all day, and these cars that are coming in and out, I'm quite certain those are official type vehicles or people that are part of the construction or that sort of thing. Anyway, here is Benjakitti Park. I'm a huge fan, and I can tell you that I cannot wait for it to reopen. Obviously, for it to reopen because it's going to reopen. But what's going to be cool is that the insides are going to be just perfect. I mean, honestly, when I was there last time, you know, it was one of those deals where it's like, okay, so when they allocate the funds from the city to, you know, fix some cracked concrete or probably to put in better irrigation, upgrade some of the electrical, make sure that there's nighttime lights. So what you're gonna see in Bangkok, and to the point of there's no downtown Bangkok, is there's multiple sort of like areas. And so right here is the border between Thong Lo and Lumpini. Thong Lo is one of these areas. Sorry, hold on. I mean, it's bad enough that I don't have my gimbal yet. But guys, trust me, it's coming. I swear, I bought it. And actually I was making this comment just as I was leaving the BTS. So I took the money that all you guys totally, I mean, just blew me away with your graciousness. And literally I literally had 2,399 baht in donations, which is approximately $74.99. And I looked on Lazada, and I looked for one of these gimbals that I really wanted, and it was 64% off, and it was 2,399 baht. And I said, well, Mr. Blinding Flash of the Obvious, that indicates to me that this is the gimbal I need to buy. As I mentioned in the community post, Daniel Netz was the guy who basically was the final fund. And it was an additional $10, which then brought us to the 2,399 baht balance. So that went to that. Of course, there was no tax. That's the nice thing about Thailand, is when you see something, the price of it is what you pay. Or obviously if you negotiate, it's lower. But like if you're online, you know, obviously, and you're not negotiating, right? There's no tax. Yes, there's shipping, and there was shipping. And I believe the item is coming from China. I can't remember, but I got it from the manufacturer's official store on Lazada. And so I don't know if it comes with a 2-year warranty. It might only come with a 1-year warranty, but my hope is that the silly thing lasts longer than my last gimbal, which only lasted about 7 or 8 months before the battery, during just a regular, what I refer to as a regular recharge cycle, started smoking. So, and that happened in my condo, thank God. I'm glad it didn't happen on an airplane. Otherwise, all you guys that have gimbals, they might have used that as another reason to not allow something on any plane ever. Like it was a hoverboard or a Samsung phone. Anyway, so I don't know how much of this is going to make it up there on the video. I suppose it's more commentary than anything else, but again, as I said, 50% of the reason I do this is to show my mom where I'm hanging out. And while I'm now used to it, right? I'm now used to these just bucket of cables that everyone pretty much agrees that at least 50% of them, nobody knows where they go. And they've made a serious effort, actually starting about 2 years ago, to underground a significant amount of them on Sukhumvit. But the side soys, they're still there. Anyway, what's interesting is I really don't see it. What I see is a lot of green trees. So that's where my rose-colored glasses are focused. Now I could go for a little bit of a walk, but what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get back on the BTS and I'm going to head over to Siam. And Siam is basically the interchange between the Sukhumvit line and the Silom line. And that interchange, anytime that Gracie and I have ever been there, it's a 50-50 sort of chance that when we get there, we're going to wait in the line so long that we have to maybe wait for the next train when we're switching trains. And there is a constant flow of people. I mean, there's someone who's like a foot in front of you, someone who's a foot behind you, and you just simply, like cattle, make your way from one line to the next. But we're going to do that. And a cup. Got some alcohol there in my hands. And just to kind of give you an idea what we're doing, we came from down there, got off on a silk. We're simply just going to go up to Siam, cruise over, and then go down to Saladang. Saladang is going to take us to a couple things. One, a place where I'm going to go get a really awesome iced coffee with that guy that I mentioned who's got the big vat full of cream. And then I'm going to walk over to Benjakitti Park, and we're probably going to do a live stream. Now this is normally one of the, oh yeah, and then there's one coming, cool. But this is normally one of the busiest stops because of this. Well, there's a couple reasons, really. There's the fact that there is the interchange to the MRT, which again, it's not really an interchange. It's simply a place where the stops are fairly close together. I mean, you have to completely get off this system, essentially walk down the street, and then down and into the MRT, which is basically the subway system. The other thing, though, here we go. All right, in we go. Okay, so this is kind of more what I'm used to, meaning that like the train empties out and then there becomes a bottleneck basically at the stairs. But people are keeping distance, which is kind of neat. So, pretty easy. Go to exit number 5. And away we go. As you can see, some of the shops are open. Some of the food places are open, some aren't. And, you know, I mean, they're not going to do a great business, so I can totally understand why they wouldn't, right? So if you care, what I use is I use the Rabbit card, but I also use Rabbit Line Pay. And the reason for that is I don't need to top up ever. I have Line, which is, a messaging app, right? I have the payment function of that attached to my Bangkok bank account or my Casacoin account. I can't remember, but one of them. And so whenever I hit that RFID card, it simply charges my bank the amount of that trip. Because, again, I'm not going to bargain. I'm not going to not take the BTS, and I'm not going to take it a certain distance just to save a few baht. Because if I were to take Grab, if I were to take a taxi, then it would be significantly more money. Had lunch there the other day. 199 baht for a Whopper combo. So, not cheap, but I wanted it. Again, this is another MRT sort of exchange. Now, that's a favorite street of Gracie and mine. The number of stalls for food is essentially zero. This would usually be all the way down, to at least underneath that green sign. There would be food stalls. And I had some of the best grilled pork with sticky rice for breakfast a couple years ago when Gracie and I were here. It was actually, Gracie was here because she was here because it's in close proximity to the U.S. Embassy. And that's when she had her interview, and that's when she got her U.S. visa. And the nice thing about where we are right now is that also she was staying here because it's close to the MRT and it's close to, obviously, the BTS. And with those two things, you can pretty much get around Bangkok as much as you really want. These are sort of interesting. If you're familiar with Amazon lockers, this is sort of that. But with an Amazon locker, obviously, the only thing that happens is that Amazon gives you packages, and they're the only ones that fill it. Whereas with this lockbox solution, I can have a number of online retailers deliver to a lockbox, and they tell me which one it is, and then I use a QR code to open it. Or, if I want to pay a ridiculous amount of money, I could store my luggage in there, but it's 100 or 200 baht a day. But I can also leave something there, if I was, needing to leave something for, I don't know, Gracie, for instance. I could be yeah, just go over there, here's the code, type it in, pick up the package, and then, let's meet, or do whatever. So what I'm doing is I'm actually going to this specific street vendor who makes really, really good iced coffee for 20 baht. And so that's the only reason I took a left up there. To get to Lumpini, what I would do is I would have walked straight and gone over that, or potentially walked over there and crossed the road. And then there's that gate, and I need to walk a little bit further down there for essentially the closest entrance to the Saladang stop. So that's an interesting sort of phenomenon. There's effectively, well, for all I know there are laws, but there's effectively zero enforcement of any degree of quiet on a motorbike, or a car for that matter. And I guess I get it. It's in the city, and they've got a finite amount of money, and so they're only gonna spend that on a few things as far as law enforcement goes. That, I'm sure, is quite good. But this guy is my coffee guy. We're gonna get a coffee from him. สวัสดีครับ คาเฟ่
ไปเย็น
ไอซ์คาเฟ่
ไอ้ก็ไป
ไอซ์คาเฟ่
ยู
yes yes ดีมาก
โนชุกะ
ๆอร่อยนิดหน่อย
นิดหน่อย 20 ค่ะ
โอเคครับขอบคุณมากครับ All right, so this is what I'm talking about right here.